We have learned their identities, but tonight investigators continue to search for answers as to why.
It's Manny Mania.
The devastating impacts of domestic violence often leads us to an awkward silence. The embarrassment to ride off in an ambulance. Instead, you walk around with physical evidence. Ignorant bliss, blinded by the arrogance. It's time victims speak up, that's imperative. Pain is love, just a cop out for his aggression. It's a blessing that your injuries wasn't life-threatening. It's time we man up and put down our weapons. Talk to the imams, rabbis, and reverends. A woman's beaten down like every 9 seconds. Got the whole world living off deception, especially to your family and friends. And the ones who care about your well-being. Your homegirl keep telling you that you should leave him, but he swore on everything, he never do it again. The argument began when he pours out his gin. You heading down this dark road.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the virtual march to end the silence on domestic violence, sponsored by the Domestic Violence Coordinating Council. We are elated to be here with you this evening. My name is Shonda Knight. I will be hosting for you this evening. I'm with the Leon County Sheriff's Office, and as you can see, I have a cast of friends here with me tonight, not just friends, but diligent workers to end the silence and to eradicate domestic violence. Of course, this month is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and usually the Domestic Violence Coordinating Council would be hosting a march through the streets of downtown Tallahassee to bring awareness to this issue. But today, because of COVID, we are in this environment, and we are going to make the very best of it with a full evening prepared for you tonight with a dynamic speaker sharing her very compelling story, and plenty of information for anyone out there who might be suffering in silence or anyone out there who might be actively searching for a way out. So again, we appreciate you for joining us. And I want to introduce my cast of friends here with us this evening. And actually, we're going to have them introduce themselves. So go ahead, Kisha, you can take it away.
I am Kisha Wilkinson, and I will be your speaker for the evening, sharing my truths. And thank you for joining us.
I'm Kelly O'Rourke. I'm with FSU's, Florida State University's Institute for Family Violence Studies, and I'm also the director of the Domestic Violence Coordinating Council.
Hi, I'm Maria Folsom. I'm a victim advocate with the Leon County Sheriff's Office.
Hi, I'm Emily Hall. I'm a victim advocate with Tallahassee Police Department.
Good evening, Michelle Johnson, Office of the Attorney General, board member with DVCC.
Hi, I'm Jeanette Gaskins, Leon County Probation Officer and also co-chair of DVCC.
Me, I'm domestic violence service.
Hi, I'm Michelle Tibbetts McClellan, and I am the victim advocate at Tallahassee Community College.
All right. Did we get everyone? I believe so. Okay, well, we thank you all, and of course, we'll be hearing more from these dynamic ladies throughout the night as we talk about the issue of domestic violence impacting so many people in our community. But before we move on, Kelly O'Rourke, who is the director of the Domestic Violence Coordinating Council, is going to bring us additional remarks. Kelly?
Hi, I just want to let you know a little bit about us. The Domestic Violence Coordinating Council was created by the City of Tallahassee Commission and also the Leon County Commission together. And it's made up of members from all the agencies and groups in our area that work to fight domestic violence by serving survivors and perpetrators. Now, research shows that there's two things that can help lessen domestic violence in the community. And the first one is a well-coordinated community response. And that is our primary mission here. We meet once a month to make sure we're all working together seamlessly to help survivors and end violence in our community. We share contact information and tools, and we make sure there are no gaps in services and if there are, we can connect quickly if we need to, when the need arises. The second thing that helps to lessen domestic violence in the community is ongoing public awareness and education. So first we have a really important prevention program going, and that's called the Teen Peer Advisor Workshops. And in these workshops, we teach teens how to recognize the red flags, warning signs of an abusive relationship, and if they see it in their friends, how to help those friends that they think might need some services. And we also teach them how to share the information they're learning with other teens. If you want any more information on one of these workshops, to have one for one of your groups or to join one of our other ones, you can just email us at dvcctally@gmail.com or look at our website, which is thedvcc.org. And as Shonda said tonight, usually we do a big march to end the silence on domestic violence, where hundreds in the past have walked through Tallahassee with banners and signs and meet for a dinner and a survivor speaker. Unfortunately, we can't do that in person this year because of, well, thank you, COVID. But we have found an even more interesting solution, Facebook Live. So we're really thrilled to bring you a really special awareness and education event now, Facing the Facts on Domestic Violence. And even though we can't meet with each other in person, the upside of this is that we can bring the event to people all over the world instead of just people here in Tallahassee. So we hope you all enjoyed, and thank you for tuning in.
In times of stress such as quarantine, what goes on behind closed doors can be terrifying. But you don't have to suffer in silence. Help is here. Love is not controlling. Love is not frightening. And love is not violent. Love is respect. If you need assistance or just want to talk, we are here. In Florida, call the Domestic Abuse Hotline at 800-500-1119 to speak to someone in your area. Or for more information, email the Domestic Violence Coordinating Council at dvcctally@gmail.com.
Absolutely. And you'll be hearing more information tonight about all of the resources that are available for anyone out there who may be suffering through domestic violence or someone who knows someone who is suffering. So we will bring you more information. And as Kelly said, we are in this virtual space. So we encourage all of you to take a second to share this live stream on all of your social media platforms so that more people can find out this very valuable information. And also leave your comments in the comment sections. We'll be taking questions and we want to hear your thoughts as we proceed throughout the night. It is time now to really hear from our dynamic speaker who has an incredible story of survival to tell. So before I turn it over to her, I'd like to introduce her. Kisha Wilkinson is an award-winning journalist, postpartum doula, motivational speaker, and founder of Social Lead Media, the only nonprofit dedicated to connecting communities to the media. Quite the resume there. Very, very diverse. She's a graduate of FAMU's School of Journalism and Graphic Communications. She has been working in broadcast television news for over a decade now, sharing stories from the most underserved communities, that is, very well deserved. Ms. Wilkinson got her start in TV news right here in Tallahassee, working at ABC 27, and then moving on to St. Petersburg, where she worked for a 24-hour cable news station. She is a mother of 4, a grandmother of 5, and has recently moved back to Leon County, where she is working her dream job as a planner for the Black News Channel, the nation's first 24-hour news channel. Let's listen to Kisha's very compelling story. Kisha?
Thank you so much, Shonda. I just want to first say thank you to all of us that are joining. This is kind of different. Normally I'm in front of, people, and I get to feel the energy from the crowd. So I don't have that. So I need you guys to hit that like button, share it. I thank you for being here. I thank DVCC. Thank you all for having this. I want to thank each and every one who has helped someone that has gone through a violent situation. Domestic violence, it doesn't know, it's kind of like COVID. It doesn't care about what color you are. It doesn't care about your race or how much money you make. It can happen to anyone at any time. My story, when I was a young girl, I loved fairy tales. I grew up with Cinderella, Rapunzel, Snow White. I had all of those books and I loved them. Why happily ever after? So, of course, growing up with that, I wanted a happily ever after. And so I've been married twice, and both of those relationships were violent. And then I had, in between that, a relationship that was violent. Okay? So when I moved to Tallahassee, I was determined to go to school, change my life. You know, I'm the single mom. I was a student at TCC, go TCC. And I worked at a gas station. So my Prince Charming would come in to my job all the time. He lived around the corner. So he was fine. He had a beautiful smile and kind eyes. And I really took to him, and we took to each other because we were married within a year. Everything was so perfect. This man supported me through school. He saw me through graduation at FAMU. He supported me through some bouts with cancer, driving me all the way to Tampa from Tallahassee a few times. He was an amazing person to my children at first. And I was just living that happy life until one night. Well, no, I take that back. I saw the signs of violence. I saw that there was some rage undealt with within him. But my life was going so great, I kind of ignored it because everything else in my life was amazing. You know, we'll have a fight, and then the next day, he went and bought my son a basketball court for his birthday. You know, he was that type of guy. But he had, you know, going down the list of things you want and don't want for a mate, he had everything I wanted. And I had a perfect fairy tale life. So as violent acts kind of progressed throughout our marriage, I didn't tell anybody. I did not tell a soul because, like many do, I was so concerned about what people would say about me. See, I'm here today sharing truths, not a story, truths. I'm not hiding behind a mask or hiding behind anything. You know, this is a very personal story to me, and it takes a lot to even share it. But I do it for you all. I remember after all of this happened, I asked my mom, I said, Mama, why does this keep happening to me? And just like an old Southern church-going mama, she says, it ain't about you. Huh? This ain't about you. You've gone through what you've gone through because you're strong enough to endure it. And what you're going through can save lives. And so knowing that after a while, I opened myself up to share my story, to share that I was abused several times, to share that I love the type of person who has a personality that might harm me, you know? So going back to my story, one night, my husband came home really late. As a matter of fact, yesterday was the 12-year anniversary of the night when everything changed. And so I was asleep. It was about 2:30 in the morning. And he came in and woke me up and says, where are the dogs? I don't know, I'm asleep. And people, let me say this first. You're gonna see me smile. You're gonna see me laugh through some things. That does not mean that this is not serious, but that's my way of dealing with my pain, okay? So if you see me make humor of it, I'm not saying it was a funny situation, not at all. But, you know, that's how I have to deal with my pain, especially sharing it here. So I didn't know what the dogs were. So I kind of laid back down and went back to sleep. Next thing, he comes in, drags me out the bed, get your A up and help me find these dogs. I knew then there was gonna be a problem. So I called 911 and he was coming back in. So I heard it and I put the phone under the pillow. We fought. Well, I tried to fight back. You know how you watch movies and in some scenes you say, oh, I would do this, or I would do that, and, oh, I would. Mm-mm. When things are happening in real life, it just doesn't turn out like the movies. My children were there, and I ran out of the house. I ran out of the house so that they wouldn't hear it. I ran out of the house not knowing that my life could have ended that night. I was going to run from them. So I ran. We lived off of the highway. I'm trying to wave down cars. The cars going 55 miles an hour. It's 2:30 in the morning and they didn't even see me probably. So I fell and twisted my ankle. And in steel toe boots, he kicked my ankle and told me to get my ass back up. Excuse my language. I couldn't get up. So I'm crawling because I saw him go in the house. Who's in the house? I know a gun's in the house, and my children are in the house. The worst feeling a mother can have is to look at her child having harm done to them and not be able to do anything about it. So I'm on the ground, and he comes out with my daughter with a gun to her head. You bitches gonna die tonight. I can't even express to you how I felt. I was just, when it's happening so fast, you really don't even have time to process it. You know what I'm saying? This is the person that you love. It's your boo, and this is happening to you. So you don't even understand how to even process it, and then your child is now involved. So me and my daughter, I'm on the ground now because I can't walk. My ankle was like this, literally. Just hanging like that. And I held my daughter's hand, and we got on our knees, execution style. And he put the gun to my daughter's head. I closed my eyes and I prayed. That's what I did. If life was going to end, we go ahead and pray. And I called out God's name. So I heard a click, but not a boom. So I kind of opened my eyes, and she was still sitting next on her knees. And I'm holding her hand. And then I felt the gun to my temple. I'll never forget this. And I heard a click. No boom. And the next thing I heard was a boom. And I opened my eyes, and he was standing there with the gun, looking like, what happened? He took my daughter in the house after this happened. And then I'm really scared, because I'm like, he's probably gonna go in and kill kids and come kill me and then kill himself. And as they were gone, Gadsden County Sheriff's Office came. He didn't go down easy. They had to tase him, and it was just a terrible night. My children were there through all of this. And the most terrible part of all of this was my babies. I put my babies in harm's danger trying to supply them with the life and with things that I thought they needed. And they paid the price for that, because those are images that are not easily erased out of a child's mind. And it was hard for them to even, they blamed me, And so it put a rift in our relationship. And life has never been the same. I've had multiple surgeries on my foot, an ankle, It'll never be the same. I still use something to help me walk with from time to time. So after that night, of course, I had to have surgery, emergency surgery the next day on my ankle. I was in a wheelchair for the bettermost part of a year. And I want to thank everyone, Dave Long, Lanita Wesson. I want to thank y'all, Gary Wordlaw, Abby Maurer. Y'all were amazing coworkers. I want to thank my friends and my sister and my family who was there for me going through all of that, because that was the toughest time of my life. And to make it tougher, I had surgery around the time he had trial. I was still in a wheelchair. My children had to go through trial. My children had to get on the stand and tell their truths. They were children, young children. I think maybe 8 and 12. He would not accept the monster that he was. And so he took it to a jury trial because he felt like he could win. He did not win. He got 20 years. He's serving his sentence now. I love this man. I loved me some him. But my fairy tale turned into a nightmare. And it's because I didn't adhere to those signs I was seeing. You know, as moms, you want to provide. You know, you want to provide for your children. You want them to have all the things you didn't have growing up. You know, and I endured things in silence because I didn't want anyone to know what I was going through. I didn't want them to call me stupid. You know, I cared about what they thought. So he was arrested that night, and his family bonded him out. And he came back home. Now, before you say, what? Let me explain why. I knew that he had trial coming up, so he was going to be very apologetic for what he had done. And I knew that God would spare me. If he couldn't take me out that night, I wasn't worried about any other nights, okay? But it just so happened he missed a court date. And when you miss a court date and you're out on bond, guess what happens? Yep, they pick you up. And that's how he went back. So my first time seeing him again was at court. I couldn't even look at him because when I looked, I saw the same monster. And when I say monster, guys, you know how when you're young, I love monster movies. My Aunt Barbara raised me in New York, and she loved Creature Feature and The Twilight Zone and all those good, horror movies. So I loved monster movies. And as I have seen life, I've grown to realize that monsters aren't the things you see on TV. Monsters walk around us every single day. I'm not going to preach to y'all, but the Bible says that we don't wrestle with flesh and blood. And it's true. It's negative energy. It's evil spirits. And, I allowed so many chances to happen between the two of us because I thought it was the liquor. I just knew it was the liquor. I knew it was the liquor. And when he bonded out and came back, I realized that it wasn't. Because I saw something in him one day, anger, and he hadn't drank since he had been out. And another reason why I let him come back home was because I knew that he wasn't going to not come home. So it was going to be with my consent or without. And you got to realize at this time, I'm not walking. I'm in a wheelchair. I can't defend myself. I ain't got no gun. I ain't, I have nothing, but my faith. And that's why I believe I am still here. So as I sit here with you all tonight sharing my truths, this story is not just for, people who are being battered. And it's men and women too now. There are some women that put it to their men for no reason or whatever reason, I don't know. But there are men that are victims. I don't like referring to myself as a victim because I'm a survivor. That's what I am. But to the families of men or women who are abusive, and we all got one in our family, you know who they are. Warn the woman they're dating. I know you probably don't want to go behind your family member's back, but think about the life you might save by doing so. You have to, everybody knows a woman that you done heard that woman crying in the stall in the bathroom at work. Take time out to say, are you okay? If you ever want to talk, or give her the number to the hotline, let them talk to her. You know, don't talk about these women behind their backs. Save their life. Help save their life. And to my victims out there, baby, you got to save your own life. I don't know if you guys watch on Netflix, She's Gotta Have It. And there's a chant during a scene. I won't get into it, but save yourself. Save yourself. Save yourself. Don't sit around and wait for someone to come in and save you. If you're in a bad situation, baby, get help, okay? Get help. Plan your escape, because that's really what it is an escape, you know, and you have to treat it as such. And sometimes you can't let everybody know what you're doing. You see what happened to Tina Turner when her mama had called Ike and let tell Ike everything. Don't let that be your mama. But family will do that for whatever reason. Save yourself. Love yourself enough to get out of violent situations. Moms, I accepted violence in my life because I watched my mom accept it in her life for many years, okay? You owe it to yourself and you owe it to your children to save yourself. Do what you have to do to get them out of harm's way. And since COVID's been around, you know, child abuse and domestic violence has increased. It was already terrible to begin with, and now it's even worse. So if you're in the house all day with them, somebody take a walk. Somebody do something different. Save yourself. When you start seeing small signs, because even with me, it didn't happen all at once. I didn't say I do, and then he was the monster. The monsters just slowly, you know, came about in little things, you know, insults to me, or telling me I can't go anywhere, or picking an argument. So I was like, you know what, I don't even want to go. You know what I mean? Look at how they're treating you in terms of possession. See, there's a difference between love and possession. And a lot of people get them confused, and you shouldn't, because they're the total opposite. Possession is ownership. Love is free. And you can hurt people with violence and with this. As the Bible says, the tongue is a what? Two-edged sword. And you can hurt people. And verbal abuse is abuse. Making someone feel bad about anything is abuse. So, and to you abusive people out there, let me tell you something. Get help. Get help. Get help. There's help out there for you. I promise you there is help out there for you. And if you don't know how to find help, look right at the bottom of your screen. Call that number. I'm serious. Get help. Mama, you know your son's crazy. Get help. Stop ignoring it. Stop ignoring what you're seeing. Okay? Do something about it so your son doesn't end up where my husband is right now, serving time. That's a talented man, but he's serving time because no one got him the help he needed when he was younger. His violent streaks didn't just start overnight. They had been going on for years. And so had the violent streets in my past violent relationships. But the mamas just turn their heads. That's my baby. Oh no, your baby crazy, honey. Get them some help. You know, get them some help. And ladies, you gotta love yourself. I want you to do this every morning. I do this and I look at things differently. Look yourself in the mirror and say, I love you. Now it's gonna sound like, Kisha, that's easy. Anybody can do that. It's really hard to say. Because when you start looking yourself in the mirror and telling yourself, I love you, you're giving yourself accountability for you. Because if you love yourself, you're not gonna let yourself get hurt. I love myself, so I don't go out on safari hunts, because I love myself. I don't go skiing, because I love myself. And I will never, ever, ever get into another possessive relationship, because I love myself. And I love my kids. And I knew that I had to end this circle of violence. You know, I'm single, but I'm happy. You know. So in closing, everyone, I just want you all to open your eyes. Share your truths. Your truths can save someone's life. Being open about who you are and what you've been through, you went through it for a reason. Share it. Tell somebody about it. Tell someone how you ignored things and it almost put you in danger. Because guess what? After each and every time I have shared my truths, I have had lines of people waiting to talk to me. And most of them aren't battered women. It's the families of abusers and families of survivors of domestic violence. Guys, I work in news, as Shonda told you, and I can't even tell you how many stories happen. News can't even put them all on. You know, that's how bad it is out there. And all you have to do is, when you see red, walk away. When you know that temper is getting, walk away. Walk away. Walk away. And if you can't control it, see a doctor. It's okay. It's okay to get medical advice. It's okay to talk to someone. I know in the Black community, and I know in Latino communities, we didn't grow up, quote unquote, telling our business. We didn't do it. Tell your business. It's time. It's time. It's time to share. It's time, y'all. It's time for everybody to be real. Be who you are. Don't be the person you think everyone wants you to be. There's help out there. I want to thank my victim advocates. Baby, my victim advocates came to trial with me, held my hand through some important things, and she led me in the right direction. I got help from the state of Florida. They have a victims advocate agency there, and I got away, and I got happy. And I had to leave here and go to St. Petersburg to find my happy again. You know, I had gotten married when I was 16 years old. And so I had spent a lot of years in relationships and learning to please others and not learning to please me and love me. So now I'm learning to love me, and I want you all to learn to love yourself. It's help out there. Get help. Don't ignore it. It may start with verbal abuse, and then it's a slap, and then it's a push. And they're so apologetic the next day. I'm so sorry. They be crying. Get help. And I'm not saying abusers can't change. They can change. I've seen one change. They can change if they want to change, if they get their help. So if you're with a mate that's abusive, and before you leave him, talk to him. Don't tell him you're leaving him, but talk to him. See if he's open to receiving change. Because if he's open to receiving change, there might be a chance. But get yourself out of harm's way while he's figuring all that out. I don't want you to stay there and put yourself in danger while he's figuring out how to change. You deserve better. We all deserve better, you know? So Love yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Check in on your family members. Don't let crazy things that were said in the past stop you from looking in on your family members. Because y'all know them crazy ones now. Y'all know them. Call them up and see how they're doing. Yes. So yes, that's all I have to say. I'm open for questions. No answer, no questions.
Wow. Well, that was plenty, Kisha. First of all, thank you, thank you, thank you. As you said, you're learning to love yourself, and aren't we grateful for that? Because you are such a beautiful soul. And I know I've just seen some of the comments start to come in here from those folks who are listening. And what a story you have to tell of survival. It takes a lot of courage to be able to do that, but it's helping so many people. So we appreciate it. Ruth says, if you walk away, you save yourself and you save them too. So very good point there. It goes both ways. We have another comment here that says affirmations work. Very true. You need to talk to yourself and tell yourself, you got to love yourself, as you said, Kisha. Lauren says, you deserve so much happiness. Thank you for sharing. And we are still getting other comments in, and we've seen those fuel in. Betty says, it's not easy to tell such a personal story, but it's important to hear. So we thank you, Kisha. Doris says, do what you need to do to save yourself, which is exactly what you did. So lots of comments coming in tonight, Kisha, and you touched on so many different areas and so many good points that you brought out in the process. I want to go back to some of those red flags, because we know that there are people in relationships out there right now, and this is more prevalent than a lot of people know or think, but there are people in relationships right now who are seeing these little things that concern them, but they're really not identifying them as red flags. So what were some of those red flags for you? Or what are some of those things that you just didn't want to see?
The red flags with him was possession. You know, he moved me outside of Tallahassee, way to Quincy. Shout out to Gadsden County. That may have been a flag that they like to isolate you away from help, away from anyone else. And hanging out with my best friend was a problem. That shouldn't be a problem. You know what I mean? Doing simple things like attending a company picnic shouldn't be a problem. So that possessiveness is definitely a red flag. And just anger issues, you know? If you're on the phone with your girlfriend and he snatches your phone, give me your phone, I need to talk. Trying to tell you when you need to do or what you need to do. You are your own person, even if you're in a relationship. You are you. So only you get to dictate those things.
Very, very true. Good information. And that isolation is a big one. When you see that happening, that's a key sign that something's not quite right here. You talked about this a little bit as well, Kisha, but I want to touch on it again. COVID-19 has really intensified some of the abuse that's happening out there. Talk a little bit more about what situations like this pandemic we're in does when someone's already in a relationship like this.
Absolutely. The pandemic has, first of all, changed everyone's finances. Okay, your money is not the same as it was before pre-pandemic, you know? And so the biggest, most people get divorced because of finances. That's like the number one reason why people get divorced. So with the finances and just staying around a person 24/7, you know? So you have to find ways to separate yourself. Even if you have a one-bedroom apartment, somebody go outside, take a walk, go to the library, do something to get away from that person if they will let you.
That's the key, if they will let you, and have a plan. We always say have a plan before you make your move. So Kisha, once again, we want to say thank you so much for sharing your story. You were such a vital part, and we're so happy to have you back in Tallahassee.
I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. Okay, well, now we are going to introduce actually one of my Leon County Sheriff's Office colleagues. She is a victim advocate for the Leon County Sheriff's Office. Maria Folsom is here to talk a little bit about having a plan, some of those things that you need to know as it relates to domestic violence. And she's going to talk about more of those red flags as well as how we can help. So, Maria, thank you.
Thank you, Shonda. Thank you, Kisha. Your story was phenomenal. Thank you. So I wanted to point out a little bit, a lot of the things that Kisha said, I'm also going to relay because it is very common to see this. Number one issue that we're dealing with is power control. Somebody's trying to take away your power and control. And I'm going to go through these warning lists and these red flags, and you'll be able to relate to see where that comes into play. So the first thing is they're embarrassing you. They're putting you down. That's a problem. I'm not saying that means they're going to get abusive, but that's not love and that's not respect. You need to pay attention to that. When they're controlling you, and Kisha talked about that with her experience, and it's very true. They're telling you what to do, when to do it, where you can go, where you can't go. You're an adult. You should be able to have a communication with your partner and express things appropriately and still be able to do things that you need to do. And then they talked about isolation. And the reason why a lot of people, abusers, try to isolate is because they know you're going to talk to people who love and want you healthy and want you safe. And the more you talk to people, the more they say, you know what, I'm worried for you. You seem like you're in a dangerous situation. And that worries the abuser because they're going to lose their power and control. And then taking threats seriously. And it doesn't have to be just a threat of violence. It could be any kind of threat. It could be a threat to take your children, which is huge because a lot of people are scared of what's going to happen to their children. And some people are dependent on people financially. And if they say, if you leave me, I'm going to take the kids, I'm going to take the house. That's serious, and it is a big deal. And, it takes an average, I think, around 8 times to actually leave a relationship. So, with these warnings and with these threats, it can continue until you actually have a plan that we've talked about. If they're preventing you to go to work, if they're preventing you to go to school, there's absolutely no reason for somebody to prevent you to do that. If that's happening, that's a clear warning sign. Something's wrong. If they blame you for the abuse, that you knew what you were doing and saying, that's why I got angry, you pushed my buttons. That's gaslighting. That's putting it on the victim, on the survivor, when 100% the responsibility is the person who needs to stop using violence as a form of communication. Destroying your property, that's an interesting one because they're not hurting you. They're not physically attacking you, but it's scary. It's a form of intimidation, and it's part of that control and that I'm dominating you, but I'm not hurting you. So go ahead and tell somebody that you're being abused because I haven't touched you. You've got no marks on you. If they also have weapons and they have it out without referring to it, they just have it out. That's a form of intimidation. Please take that very seriously. This one's interesting, and it does happen when somebody threatens suicide. Again, that's not to communicate in a healthy way. That's purely to keep you under their control. They may be serious. They may not be. I don't know. But that is actually something that happens quite often. And then in unique situations, sometimes if you're in a same-sex relationship and you don't feel like it's anybody's business that you're in a same-sex relationship, that partner could use that against you. If that's happening, please take that seriously. There's no good that's going to come from somebody threatening to out you before you're ready. And also, if you're an immigrant and they threaten deportation, of course you're terrified to say anything. Who's going to help you? And let me tell you that there are advocates who will help you. We want you healthy. We want you safe. Okay. So it kind of goes into the next portion that I like to talk to people about. And generally, when I'm talking to survivors on the phone, the majority of my time, I'm talking about safety planning. Number one, dangerous time is when somebody's leaving a relationship. So please, if you are in an abusive relationship and you plan to leave, have a plan. And we are here to help you. There's phone numbers on the screen. There's a local number, there's a national number, there's advocates at both law enforcement agencies. Just please reach out to start your plan. You can go online and also research it. But when you're staying in a relationship, and again, this is hard for loved ones who are watching an abusive relationship happen to somebody that they love. I know it's very difficult, but sometimes they stay for a variety of reasons that we said. But if you are going to stay, identify a safe place in your residence. And what that means is if you can tell there's an escalation happening, move to a location that you can exit and get out. Also, make sure that room has no weapons, okay? So that's what I mean by find a safe spot. Also have a bag ready, a quick pickup bag of incidental, clothing, but also important paperwork. Copies of birth certificates, especially with children, marriage licenses, your medication, something that you just pick up and go. And on that same token, if you feel like that is a potential thing from happening, I also tell people to start backing in so that you can just grab everything, jump in, and hit the drive and go and get out of there. You should always have access to a phone, and most of us do. Sometimes abuser will take a phone away. So the next part of that is memorize numbers. If you aren't at the place where you can call 911 for whatever reason, but you feel comfortable calling a friend, know their number by heart, memorize it. Create a support system. And I always ask when I'm talking to people, who can you depend on? Who is somebody you can talk to? Now listen, if you are a friend and a loved one thing I like to tell you is the best thing you can do for somebody is to be there for them. And whatever that means to you, does that mean you can be the shoulder to cry on, an ear to listen in, and you can tell them anytime, all night, whatever you need. You may even be opening your home. But a support system is really essential, okay? Be mindful of your surroundings. Now, a lot of times I'm talking to stalking victims at this point. Sometimes they're former relationships, whatever the case may be. But this is just smart. You just need to be aware, be mindful. So from your house to your car, lock it. From your car to your house, lock it. I know that seems extreme, but if you feel like you're being stalked, you need to take back your power and control, and that's one way to do it. When you're driving, take different ways. We are creatures of habit. Don't do that. Go ahead and make some changes. See if anybody's following you. That's the best thing you can do, just to be fully aware of your surroundings. All right, this one's important, especially in this day and age, computers. If you start researching what you can do for safety planning or how to get help or whatever the case is, don't use a computer that the abuser may also be using. They can find out, they can see your history. And if you do, clear your history. But I recommend using a library. The library has computers you can use, using a friend's computer if you want to start doing research. If you're allowed on your break at work, do research that way. And then also be mindful of spyware. So if the abuser or somebody who you feel like could become an abuser has ever had access to your phone, go ahead and just assume that there's spyware on there, because it's an app that can be downloaded and you have no idea. It's hidden. And whatever you access on your phone, the person can see every single thing. There's no privacy involved. It's really scary and insidious on how it's done, and it's very easy to download quickly. So be mindful. The one last thing I want to talk about are pets. A lot of people don't want to leave because they're pets, and I understand that. Our fur babies are really important, and it is actually dangerous to leave a pet with somebody who you know is violent. So talk to friends, talk to family, make a plan. Our local area refuge house, they do allow for you to take a pet. Now you have to follow their guidelines and get approved for it. But it's starting to grow to the understanding that pets are valuable to our mental health, to our connections, and we don't want them to get hurt. So we understand that. So make a plan for your pets as well. So I just want to finish by saying thank you, Kisha, for your story. And I hope people who are watching, you're listening, you're learning, and you take action. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria. Such great information there. Lots of great information. So I know some folks out there were taking notes. Before we open it up now to our full panel discussion, we do have one viewer question that we want to go back to for Kisha. So Kisha, this question is coming from Michelle. She asks, Did your children support you in your action to distance yourself from their father, the abuser?
The last situation, yes, they supported me. They wanted out of that too, yes. And my adult children, I had 2 sons that were in the Marines when it happened, and they came to support me. One flew in from Hawaii like the next day, and the other one was in Virginia. And so the support of my children and my family and friends is what got me through. Support is important.
Definitely important for sure. Thank you so much, Kisha. So we have some questions now for our panel of experts here with the Domestic Violence Coordinating Council. We're going to start with a question for Emily. Emily, sometimes making that plan many times requires some type of legal action. So how would someone go about getting an injunction against their abuser?
Yeah, so getting an injunction, which is basically just the same thing as a restraining order. Here in the state of Florida, that's what they're called, as injunctions for protection. There's 5 different types. So depending on what situation you're in, they can help you figure out which one you need to apply for. So here in Leon County, the way you go about applying for an injunction would be to visit our local courthouse on Monroe Street. Currently, due to COVID, you have to enter through the Calhoun Street entrance, which is the back entrance of the courthouse. Let them know you're there to file for an injunction. They'll point you in the right direction. There is a refuge house injunction assistance office at the courthouse here in Tallahassee, and they will be able to help you fill out the paperwork that you're going to need to file. What that process looks like is a judge reviews that injunction paperwork, decides whether or not to grant a temporary injunction, which would be in place until a final hearing is held, where both you and the respondent, which is the abuser in this situation, would have to appear before a judge and talk about why you feel the need for an injunction. But basically, an injunction is based granted off fear of someone else and for your safety. So it's there as a protection so that harm doesn't come to you any further.
All right, great. Thank you, Emily. Great information there. We're going to go back to Maria now for a question. Maria, a lot of times when someone's in an abusive relationship, they think, counseling is certainly a good thing to do. But is it a wise idea to go to couples counseling?
I actually get this a lot when I'm talking to people, when I'm advising that counseling is probably one of the best things that they can do. A lot of people assume I'm talking about couples counseling, and actually I do not recommend couples counseling in an abusive situation. There's a lot of dynamics happening there. When you are with another person, with the abuser, trying to talk things out, if you can imagine, you're saying something raw, real, and that person could get angry, and they may not explode right then, but chances are good they may come home and react to it and explain, that you were embarrassing me this time, you during this time, that you can't be free when you're sharing that space with the abuser. That abusers just need their own counseling. They need to work on who they are, and then you need to work on yours. You need to be able to free yourself and work with your counselor one-on-one. What are the issues and what are some of the things you wish could happen? And couples counseling is more about, basic conflict communication issues, not physical violence type of issues.
All right, great. Thank you, Maria. I think that goes back to what Kisha was saying earlier, to love yourself. That's the key, is to work on loving yourself first. So very good information there. All right, so now we're going to move on to a question for Michelle T. We've got both of our Michelles with us today, but Michelle, what's the first thing someone should do if they want to leave?
Maria actually hit on a couple of these when she was discussing safety planning. One of the first things to do when you're planning on leaving is to tell someone that you trust that you plan to leave, and make a safety plan. Share that safety plan with that person that you trust. Make sure that you you plan with your children. If you have children, identify a safe place where they can go during moments of crisis. If you're preparing to go to a shelter, call ahead to see what the shelter's policies are, and they can give you some information on how they can help, how to secure a space when it's time to leave. If at all possible, try to set money aside or ask a trusted person or a family member to hold money for you somewhere where your abusive partner can't get to it. Also, you can try and remember some important phone numbers in case you don't have your phone or your abuser has taken your phone. Important numbers, whether it's that person that you trust that has your safety plan or know that you're about to leave, or if it's the National Domestic Violence Hotline. And there are a couple sites that you can go to that helps you prepare. The National Network to End Domestic Violence has some online toolkits that can assist for technology safety, which is some of the things that Maria was talking about, knowing how to identify spyware, clear history, things of that nature. And then the National Domestic Hotline, the hotline.org, has information and instructions on safety planning and can actually help you create a safety plan for yourself if you're struggling with what to do. And then lastly, you have your community advocates. If you're a student, you have your advocates at FSU and FAMU and TCC, as myself. At the Victim Advocate program at TCC also does see people in the community. So if you're not sure who to call and you know one of those numbers or the refuge house, call and speak to an advocate and they can guide you through safety planning and what is the best options for you.
Yeah, there's so many resources out there. You don't want to go at this alone. There's help available at your fingertips. Thank you for that answer, Michelle. Now a question for Jeanette. Jeanette, this question is about some folks out there may not have that core support system. So this question is, what if no one believes me?
What you can do is continue to tell your story. Do not give up. Continue to talk to a family member, call the hotline, talk to a loved one who will support you. But do not give up, because at some point somebody is going to believe you. And just remember that you deserve to have a safe, happy, healthy life without being abused.
Very good answer. Absolutely. Keep telling that story. Kelly, a question for you now. How do I know if it's too controlling instead of just love?
Well, the short answer is that there is no level of controlling that is good. If you've ever been a teenager, you can remember how unsuccessful and frustrating your parents' attempts to control you were. Yeah, it doesn't work. And abusers never get enough control. They never get to the point where they feel comfortable. So it's always got to be more and more. And in the end, you really can't control anybody else besides yourself. So healthy relationships have trust instead. Your partner has to trust you to really love you. So if someone is being controlling and claiming it's because they love you, that's a really big red flag.
A red flag indeed. Definitely something you want to look out for. Thank you, Kelly, for that answer. A question now for Michelle Johnson. Is it okay for someone to go through your partner's phone to prove that they trust them?
Going through your partner's phone is not appropriate. If you're feeling compelled to do so, it's time to take a closer look at your relationship, as it could be a sign that something is seriously off. If you're going to get your relationship back on track, you both have to be equally committed, in agreement, and honest.
Definitely a partnership if you're going to work towards that. Thank you so much, Michelle. And one more question here. We're going to direct this one back over to Emily. Emily, we've got a great resource in our community here in the Refuge House. Talk a little bit about some of those services that are offered.
Yeah, so Refuge House is our local domestic violence and sexual violence shelter here in Tallahassee. So they do provide emergency shelter. If you need somewhere to go, please call the hotline at 681-2111, area code 850, and speak with someone at the hotline if you need somewhere to stay. They also provide counseling services for domestic and sexual violence. So if you need to talk to somebody or you want to share about what you've gone through and try to work through that, if you're trying to get out of that, they have people that you can speak with that can help you work through the trauma that you've experienced. They also do now take pets, so that's a great resource in our community. And they're just knowledgeable all around about domestic violence and the ways that you can get out of it, how you can get out of it safely. They can help provide a safety plan for you. So they provide a wide array of resources here in our community. I know personally, as an advocate in Tallahassee, I don't know what I would do if we didn't have their services. So if you're someone that's experiencing abuse, please do not hesitate to give them a call. It's confidential. And somebody is there to help you.
Yes, so Refuge House, definitely a great resource there. We also want to, first of all, thank you to all of our panelists here tonight. Such great resources in our community, so knowledgeable on this topic, and always available when someone is in need. So we appreciate you all for coming to the rescue, and especially you, Kisha, for sharing that very compelling story this evening. We want to share the website. Yes, round of applause for sure. We want to share the website out there one more time for anyone out there who needs the information. The Domestic Violence Coordinating Council, of course, is available. So be sure to log on to thedvcc.org. A lot of the information you heard tonight is there, and a lot of resources there. So lock that email address or that website in to find out more information. And before we wrap things up tonight, we do want to share some of the comments from some of our viewers who've been with us throughout the evening, sharing this journey. Wendy Strickland says, great info, totally unaware Refuge House allows pets. Who knew? So now we all know, definitely a resource. A lot of times when victims leave, that's a family member, a lot of people's pets. So that's an important component. Doris says, great conversation. I've enjoyed the conversation immensely, so I agree with you wholeheartedly, Doris. Ruth says, thanks for all of the panelists. Very informative. That's the kind of feedback we love getting. Shannon says, thank you all for doing this. I agree. It's definitely something that's needed. So thank you so much again, ladies, for your commitment to this effort. I see all the purple because it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we wear it proudly for this effort. So, and our DVCC shirts, absolutely. So, thank you again, ladies. And at this time, I want to just say a thank you to all of our community partners out there. All of these ladies represent agencies that are very committed to this effort. The Leon County Sheriff's Office, Maria and I work hand in hand on this and many other issues in the community. So thank you all for your commitment to this cause. And now I want to send it over to Kelly Rourke, our director for the DVCC, for some final comments. Kelly?
The only thing I wanted to say was that all of the DVCC would like to thank our wonderful hostess, the renowned Miss Shonda Knight, who has been a longtime board member and has helped us reach so many people in the community over the years. Thank you, Shonda. Thank you, thank you. And thanks to everyone for joining us tonight. Please be sure to hit the like button on our page, and so you'll hear about our future Facebook Live endeavors as we go forward. Again, thank you so much, Shonda. You've always been such a wonderful resource for us, leading our pack all the time.
Kelly, thank you for your leadership, and I enjoy working with all of you ladies. Look forward to doing it once again, and looking forward to next year and all of the wonderful events in between. Thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have learned their identities, but tonight investigators continue to search for answers as to why.
It's Manny Mania.
The devastating impacts of domestic violence often leads us to an awkward silence. The embarrassment to ride off in an ambulance. Instead, you walk around with physical evidence. Ignorant bliss, blinded by the arrogance. It's time victims speak up, that's imperative.